Welcome. I'm the Falcon of the West.
And I'm the Prince of Precision.
And we are the Attack Action Podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with my co-host and best friend, Isaac. What's up, dude?
Oh, nothing much. Just a rainy California day, and we got a lot to talk about, a lot to think about regarding the current game state and the most recent calling.
Yeah, definitely. A lot has happened. We've had two callings, one in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, and one most recently in Cincinnati. And so today we're going to kind of go over those results. We're going to try to talk about the ProQuest as much as we can with as little information as we have, and be kind of looking at everything through the lens of getting to play in the national tournament that's coming up at the beginning of November. But before we get to that, any shout outs you have, Isaac? Also, we started this whole intro without a single joke or a giggle. Very business.
We're just professionals now.
Yeah, totally.
We also just recorded the second episode of our sister podcast that's a YouTube exclusive, doing coverage of the previous calling with our buddy Colin.
The Dallas calling.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So check that out on YouTube if you have not already. Mm-hmm. This episode will mostly be talking about the most recent, the Cincinnati calling, because we already, covered some of that ancient history last week.
Shout outs.
I do not have any shout outs this week.
Oh, dang. Okay. I thought
what do you got for me?
I have none.
Ooh, big airball.
Yeah. Well,
that's okay.
Everybody else has been slacking, apparently.
Yeah. Nobody of note.
Yeah. I guess a tiny shout out to Yazi. He posted on Twitter the other day, been listening to a ton of podcasts. Put me on. He's just basically I would like to be.
Put me in, coach.
Yeah, totally. So maybe we'll get that goblin on our podcast. Also, I guess shout out to John, who is our winner of our T-shirt giveaway. And if you're like, what T-shirt giveaway? Well, you should have been paying attention on YouTube.
Yeah, there's free shit going on over there.
Yeah, totally. So John, that's in the mail. I don't know if you actually listen to the podcast. Maybe you're a YouTube only guy, but you'll hear this on YouTube when it's up also. So it's in the mail. And if you're like, what? I want some free shit. Go check out the reaction step. You'll learn how to enter into that sweepstakes. I feel like a Nickelodeon channel now. Okay, let's
gimmicks and prizes galore.
Yeah, there's just freaking gack raining down from the ceilings or whatever it was called. I don't know. And if you're too young to know what that is, shame on you. Get on YouTube. It all comes back full circle. Talk to me about that first piece of news there, Isaac.
Okay, so LSS announced a little while ago now that Crucible Unlimited will no longer be printed.
OOP.
And everybody freaked out. But some caveats. But
they did.
True.
Y'all lost your mind and need to freaking chill out.
But yeah, a couple little disclaimers here. There's still tons of product out there, with some still being delivered to stores and suppliers and all that. LSS did announce, which I thought was pretty bold, that they will never print Crucible again. But this does not mean that they can't reprint cards, right? So if there is extremely high demand for any of those cards, they can reprint. Or if it's especially applicable to the gameplay or game state of a future set, I think in theory they could reprint any of those. I got to tell you that this news did make me think, because I was like, because I think I sold my shiny Cokes. I only have one Cokes of Commotion, and I only have two Aether Eyes. Both unplayable cards. But, I just started thinking about what cards in Crucible might I want, like that kind of deal. Because the really beautiful thing about that set, a lot of people didn't like it because it's not playable, which does take some of the fun out. But
not in limited.
Yeah,
you can't draft it.
A lot of those cards are kind of like toolboxy cards, that like Feign Death, a card that I really love and can kind of wax and wane in and out of gameplay for like years to come, probably. Like a lot of those cards are very cool and kind of weird and open-ended and powerful in the right situations. So I just started thinking about what cards I'm missing, but it's all good. They'll be available for quite some time. All right, there's my like long spiel about that. Do you have any thoughts on this Crucible?
I don't know. Not really. Like, yeah, we got a bunch of staple cards. I'm not stressed out because, like, we're like of the second wave of early adopters of Flesh and Blood. So, like, some of like our third episode is after we like drunkenly tried to figure out how to draft Crucible, which was a wild experience. But so I'm like not that worried about that. And it seems like if you're going to have 3 sets a year, one of them be supplemental, you might as well allow yourself the type of flexibility that you would need, because there needs to be, right? Eventually there just won't be a reason to buy Welcome to Wraith, really. You know what I mean? Like nobody's really going to be opening those packs, I guess. I don't know. My point is like there are some staple cards from earlier sets that you could just, I guess, buy singles of or whatever. I don't know. There will be a point where the game is so long because there's no rotation that you'll need to offer earlier set cards or later set cards in a like supplemental set or something like that, just to kind of keep it in rotation or give new players a kind of place to buy from currently. You know what I mean? Just because there's the like, I don't really want to buy old cards. I like the new cards. That just probably type of like mentality potentially amongst the consumer. But other than that, I just don't care, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean they have to print to demand.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can't just have every unlimited set constantly printed, And like you said, there's ways around. There's singles, there's reprint, there's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's a way better way to frame it is like, okay, so we're constantly printing Welcome to Wraith, Arcane Rising, Monarch, Tales of Aria. What does this look like in X amount of years? One of those things have to go down, but we still need to get players those cards. We can put that in supplemental sets, I suppose, right?
All right, what's next up on the news?
The other little segue into that is that James White confirmed to Tannen, shout out to Tannen, who's a great caster for the last, callings or whatever, that on November 16th, sorry, drinking bubbly water. I'm very burpy. This is new for me. Not bubbly water, just bubbly water on the cast. James White said that November 16th, we're going to get the announcement for the supplemental set coming out in Q1. And that in that supplemental set, every class will get cards. So we're talking your ninjas. We're talking your wizards. We're talking... who else hasn't gotten any cards in a while?
Dash.
Mechanologist. Yeah, your mechanologist.
Although that one was newer, but yep.
Yeah, totally.
So I guess all 9 classes will get some amount of cards.
Yep. There's only 9?
I think there's 9 classes.
Merchant.
Sorry to all the merchant players out there. I am so fucking sorry. You were totally competitive and totally viable.
Totally.
Bad.
What
Geminis?
about Geminis? Yeah.
Shapeshifters?
Sorry.
Do you think actually, I guess, will those get cards as well?
I don't know. That's the tasty question.
The thing is, there could be
Cavdane specialization, which is just like redeem this card and you get a cleaver, and then if you play another card, you chop off your opponent's hand, and then they have to pay you $100 to get their hand back. I don't know. You're the first person I've talked to actually kind of all day, and we're doing this podcast, so I'm a little
nice.
It's a little weird for me.
A lot of thoughts brewed in there.
Yeah, totally.
It's great.
But so yeah, cards for every class, which is really cool, I think. That's what you should do with the supplemental set. I'm like really excited about that. I'm like beyond excited.
Agreed.
Uncontrollably excited. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I have a lot. You have a lot of thoughts on this, but we are going to do an episode right after the November 16th announcement.
Reaction step.
Yeah. Brainstorming about this. But this does kind of segue into our listener mail.
Cool. I'll put an effect on that.
Well, I don't know. We got to find a listener mail voice. So Zane on Twitter asks, given the news of a new supplemental set, what are some new cards you are hoping to see? I'm hoping for a claw attack reaction, so mandible claws can become a bit more threatening on non-blood rush turns. Are there any specific card archetypes that you think are most needed?
Yes. Zane, thanks so much for your question. We also have one from Hayden too, which I will we'll get to after this. I forgot to tell you. Surprise.
Fair enough. We have several questions. So if we don't get to your questions this episode, look forward to those in coming episodes.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so what we saw in Crucible is that classes just got the cards they kind of needed to like help them out in a weakness area, right? Like, Dorinthia got, at the time, it's just Dorinthia, gets hit and run, which is a real staple in like every warrior deck basically now. Not so much Bolton, but in like Axes Bolton or whatever. That gives you go again and allows you to sidestep into another attack, Viscera gets the like 1 cost attacks that attack for like 4 in red, which are really good with like little hit effects. You get some really cool Majestics also for everybody. Rhinar gets Arc Smash that like helps with rock paper scissors with the dominance of dash at the time. So I would expect a similar thing for all of the classes, in that they are going to, I would say like your commons and rares are going to be generically really good. You know what I mean? Just like solid cards. Like maybe warriors get like just another attack reaction, probably, with some sort of reprise situation.
Yeah, like your sleep dart or whatever.
Yeah.
Was that a Crucible, actually? Sorry, fact check me.
Sleep Dart, I think, is a Crucible.
I think so.
Card. Yeah.
Anyway, moving doesn't matter.
Anyway, yeah. So like, arrows with more hit effects, etc. But then the Majestics is probably where you get the spice, right? Is like, oh, this is obviously a chain Majestic and stuff. Like, I don't think we're gonna get. And who knows? I could be wrong. If there's like 400 cards in the set, then I would say like, yeah, talent cards are going to be in there too. But I don't think we're going to get like a shadow card that is a non-attack action that we can play from banish so that chain rises again from the ashes like a phoenix. I don't think something like that is going to happen. But I obviously could be wrong and have been many times. What did Zane particularly ask? What cards am I most looking for?
Yeah, what are some new cards you're hoping to see?
Yeah, I suppose that's it.
Type.
I'm just hoping to see this is what I'm 100% hoping to see. I'm hoping to see more weapons and armor. That's what I want to see. That are relatively powerful, so we just have more options to enable more archetypes for all of the heroes.
Definitely.
That makes sense. We get 2 bows in Tails, and both of them are Elemental Ranger. It would be cool if we got another Ranger weapon that's totally different, some more Ranger armor, etc. All of that stuff. Or some cards to freaking enable Dread Scythe to be a thing. I want to see the Dread Scythe work. I've been trying.
Yeah, if you have swung Dread Scythe this turn, play Harvest Souls for free from your hand or whatever.
Yeah, totally. Make 40 rune chants. I don't know. That's it. Overpowered. But yeah, so something like that. Just more, because I think that's the most fun part of, or one of the more fun parts of the game is outfitting your hero, right? Right now in the Briar deck that I'm playing, it's just all my equipment is just legendaries. And that's kind of cool. I guess Skeleta is a majestic, but right. Anyway, just if there were more viable things in different slots of rarity.
Yeah, I completely agree with the armor and weapons thing. Because in this game, some classes or characters are a little bit one-dimensional, unfortunately. But overall, in the whole game, I think they've done a good job of designing. A lot of these characters you can deck build pretty creatively. But in a lot of the classes, I think, yeah, it's the limited good armor and weapon options are pretty uninteresting, right? They're branching out more now, but it would be very cool if you just had so much choice that with your, control Briar archetype, you just run a completely different set of equipment than with your, lightning aggro Briar or, whatever. Or you run one that just enables a powerful combo like a Sonata thing, or you run, whatever. I think they could really, it would just broaden the deck building if there were more tools at your disposal.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to get more blitz heroes like we got in Crucible when we get Crucible?
I don't know, maybe. I kind of don't care. I'm just not a huge Blitz fan. Yeah. But it's that they released all those and it made Blitz more fun and interesting. It was great. And then it did not.
Yeah, for a month until someone was just oh, right. Ira's legal.
Broken.
Yeah, we'll just do that.
Totally. But I don't know. I think Blitz heroes are pretty cool because they're a fun thing, and it doesn't impact nationals or whatever if you make a broken Blitz hero. So,
do you think that we'll ever get? Do you think maybe then we just get adult versions of Kasai, Benji, and KO, or do you think those stay just Blitz only heroes forever?
I have no idea. I mean, it's up to the devs, right? Because you'd have to test them in constructed. I don't know if Ira is still broken and constructed or not, right?
Right.
Or if Kasai is really good in constructed,
Yeah.
I mean, it would be fun to play those archetypes or those characters in constructed, but you have no idea what the balance issues would be.
Yeah, I would really also like to see some more payoff for copper, silver, and gold. Oh
yeah, they introduced that whole mechanic, yeah. And then there was nothing to buy. We had a discussion about that. Now there's a money system, monetary. Yeah, totally. What are they going to do with this? Totally. Nothing at all.
Nothing. Nope. Yeah, no. We're just going to play stuff out of Banish.
You just cash in once.
Yeah. Great question, Zane. Thank you. I appreciate it. So
wait, I still have something to say.
Oh, do you?
Only you answered that question.
Oh my God! I just have been talking so long. I assumed you did.
No, I don't have. I was surprised by this question this morning. I don't have a lot of So there are game mechanics and certain things I would like to see introduced, but that could not be in a supplemental set. What I just hope for in this supplemental set is that cards will have the same utility of Crucible. Because cards like, I'm going to use Beast Within, Remorseless, and Feign Death as examples. These are super powerful cards that introduce kind of complex and multiple lines of play and utility, but are not like overpowered or broken in any way. They just made the game, the piloting and the deck building kind of much more interesting. So I just hope that we'll get kind of more, because I don't want just another like Command and Conquer, right? Or just a variation on, oh, here's one powerful card for this character. I want to see the same thing. Like Beast Within, most of the times you draw that card or it's just like offline. It costs 3, swings for 6, right? But it blocks for 3. It's a yellow, and if you do pull off its effect, with Blood Rush or Shadow of Blasphemous or any of these things, it just can become really powerful. But the impossibility of ensuring that every time makes it very balanced. Same with Feign Death, right? Doesn't block, doesn't do anything else, but very powerful, when you take a Kodachi and then block their, Plunder Run, Command and Conquer for 9. So,
yeah.
I just hope that the quality lives up to that standard, because I'm a huge, huge fan of Crucible cards, just in that way. Gaze the Ages. There's just like so many cards that are so powerful and so cool and just so complex in the game.
Yeah, totally. You even get Rattlebones, right?
Yeah.
Which are our first like non-wizard instant speed situation, which has kind of fallen off of favor. I think it could make a comeback into the meta, into decks and stuff. Yeah, it's very exciting. I think the supplemental set is really cool. And I'm really excited to figure out some sort of draft limited play still with it, like 2 packs. It has to be sealed, I think, right? But maybe you get some packs you could just add, I don't know. We'll have to see what the cards are.
Packs of the set of the character you choose or something.
Yeah, or like, you get maybe 9 packs and you get 3 from Welcome to Wraith, 3 from Arcane Rising, and I don't know. Anyway.
Wild.
It'd be fun to try to figure that out, to see how the pack distribution is. Maybe it's not possible, but
I do agree with Zane, because I was playing Levi last night, and it would be nice to have the claws have another utility. They kind of do off of pulping, but it's really hard to have the resources for that, and they still go for 3 each. It's just not that great. So, I don't know about attack reaction, but just another claw line would be really, really cool.
Totally, yeah. Some more axe support would be cool too.
Yeah.
Anyway, more support for everything would be cool, is what we're saying.
Which is what it will be. All right, what's Hayden got to say?
Hayden is wondering why, well, specifically me, because it's my Twitter, but I assume he means not only the Falcon of the West, but also the Prince of Precision. Why we continue to hide our limited prowess by not going to the callings, and will you be drafting a spicy archetype at Nationals? My answer to that is your mother. No, I don't know. Listen to the pod, Hayden. We're not going to Nationals, okay? God, way to rub it in.
Well, I can still go to Nationals. I've been thinking about it.
I thought it passed your deadline.
No, I accepted it, because why not?
Never mind. You might see Isaac there.
The answer to that is cost and time for me, right? Like, I have not put in a lot of draft or limited practice. I think I'm like above average talented at it now that I've done it enough, but I just have not like practiced enough to spend, $1,500 to go stay in a hotel by myself, lose in Cincinnati, and then not know what to do and fly home. So that's my answer to that. I thought about Nationals just because of the opportunity is now kind of live in the moment, but
Yeah.
I've also not practiced enough.
And Isaac doesn't believe we're going to qualify next year, which I keep telling him. Just like say you're going to qualify and then put in the time and then you'll do it.
It's just always going to be hard to qualify.
Cool. Makes it that much sweeter when we do it. Also, Hayden, to explain where we live a little bit better to you, we live in the bush. I think that's a term from the country you live in. So maybe that helps you understand. There's no, like, the closest international airport is like 6 hours away, you know, from my house, 5 from Isaac's. So it makes it just hard to travel across our country to get to Florida, time-wise and expenses-wise and stuff. So
Yeah, or Dallas or Cincinnati.
yeah,
And
totally.
I could go to one of those, probably not all three, you know, finances-wise. Or I just don't prioritize. I don't know. It's just a lot.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
a busy time of year for me as well.
Yeah.
You know.
So, but we're looking forward to it next year. At least I am. I'm really planning on scheduling and prioritizing competitive flesh and blood for the next Road to National season and Nationals, you know? Because, like, this year it was just like, okay, let's try to qualify, right? And then, boom, did it. So we're going to try to repeat that performance and then also go to Nationals and try to get to an extra calling, right? That's like baby steps, you know?
Totally. And I am 100% on board with that.
You heard it here.
I
He's
will be
100%
trying to
on board.
qualify.
100%. No, we're not going to try. We're going to.
I am just not very smart. So this was pretty funny. I told my girlfriend that I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to this. I'm like kind of playing one of the worst characters, though. So it's, you know, I have like a less chance of winning. And she goes, don't you get to pick what character you play? Which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
When you put it like that, I just feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do not purchase nor practice with all of the cards or characters. So my qualifying next year is kind of contingent on one of my characters being playable.
Right. Well, we'll get into that. I think there's some hope for you, I suppose, when we get to kind of the pro quest and the results we've been seeing in that.
Right.
So we've dawdled around long enough. Let's get over to our main topic, which is the calling, both Cincinnati and Dallas. So we'll briefly talk about Dallas really quick. So we'll talk about the callings and then we'll move into the pro quest. So in Dallas, we see that Briar in the sealed portion of the calling is running rampant, right? Everybody's playing Briar mostly. And it seems like that hero just has, like, out of the sealed pool, a much stronger time, right? Like, not even just like, I don't have a good Lexi or Oldheim pool. It's just like Briar kind of on average is just a little bit better, you know?
Yeah, and the way I think about, and I think we talked about this when the game first started, just the way I see it is like, if you don't have a strong Lexi or Oldheim pool,
Yeah.
Briar is kind of the strongest just at based average.
Yeah, exactly.
There are definitely cards you can be missing that really hamper Briar, but it kind of seems to be, I don't know. You just have a better chance of having a decent Briar deck.
Yeah,
than the
you
other
just need,
decks.
like, what did we say? Like, Bramble Spark any color, Ball Lightning any color, and a Mark of Lightning.
Yeah.
And then your game plan is just get him to 4, kill him.
Totally. Enough non-attack actions with Go Again. Any attacks with Go Again. You know, there's just like a bunch of pieces to this puzzle that can really, you know, really shine with just regular cards.
Yeah, and it seems like you're, you know, a little bit, or the belief is, or I don't know. It's tough because it's in a competitive environment at this time rather than maybe people taking some chances, which you most certainly do not want to take a chance if you're trying to like do the best and win. But it's like your pool for Lexi or Oldheim has to be kind of considerably better than your Briar pool, is what we kind of see in both callings for the sealed portion, for you to really consider running them, right? But we see something like Nam and Michael kind of played Oldheim all day, even in sealed, you know?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because Nam was definitely forcing Oldheim in draft, but I mean, everybody has the same random sealed packs. So I was wondering if he was open to the idea of playing a different character if his Oldheim pull was like really bad, or if he just had practice and had such a dialed Oldheim strategy that his card pool would have just had to been totally awful for him not to play that character. You know, it was his kind of disciplined mechanics with, mediocre and up Oldheim pool that he would have stuck with it, you know?
Yeah, totally. Spoilers, if you don't know, a gentleman named Nam won the Dallas calling on an Oldheim fatigue strategy. Which brings us to kind of like, or do you have anything other to say about sealed? It's just like Briar's the strongest.
Nope.
Right. It gets you there. And that's like, I don't know, a little bit of a bummer to me that's how that turned out. But the draft portion of Tales of Aria is where things get spicy in terms of like, competitive gameplay and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I also think in sealed this is a very explosive, kind of powerful set.
Yeah.
Right? So I've noticed you kind of only get one use your life as a resource momentum swing or whatever. And if you make one or two mistakes, it like probably will lose you the game. So I think also just playing a pretty aggressive Briar deck just gives you a little bit of, like a leg up in that department, right? Because you're not playing a mid-range deck where you have to calculate exchanges all freaking day and not make too many mistakes, or
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's a great point about that. Why Briar kind of lends itself a little bit better. In theory, you're like, oh, maybe a frosty Lexi kind of helps tempo, right? But it really depends on what those frost cards are, right? Like if they're frost attacks or ice attacks, then you just like flip up a Winter's Grasp and play that out, and then that's your turn. Like not super, super impactful. Like the best is maybe like Icy Encounter. Even then, like not that great. So you really want to flip up those like hand taxers.
Yeah, Chilling Ice Vein.
Yeah, and you want to be playing Chilling Ice Veins and Blizzard and
Winter's Bite.
Yeah, and all of those, right? So if you just don't even have those, it's hard to tempo with Lexi. The stars have to align a little bit more for her. Because then if you get a lot of attacks also in Lightning, but they're like Lightning Surge and Ball Lightning, then flipping those up does you nothing also, right? Because you don't get the benefit from the go again. So it's a delicate balance there for the other two heroes. Anyway, and then on to draft for Dallas. Just quickly, people draft, they play each other. We get to the top 8, and we get 5 Briars forced in the top 8, and
4.
This is in Dallas.
Oh, in Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then, so that means Nam, who, after listening to Arsenal Pass and what we had talked about on the reaction step, was like, there's no way people do not know that this person is going to play Guardian, right? There has to be like, all right, I'm on his left, I'm on his right, like kind of understanding, I guess, the table dynamics, which did not happen, and he just got to pick all of the best Guardian cards basically ever, you know?
Yeah, and his deck was, broken for limited. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
Which we talked about a little bit before, so I'll just kind of speed through this. But when you sit down at the table and you know somebody's going to force Guardian, you need somebody to compete with them. But then that's just one of those slots already declared. So you're maybe handicapping yourself a little bit by choosing to compete with, him and whoever else chooses to go that way. It just makes for a difficult table dynamic. And obviously nobody stepped up and, I get it's tough because I get nobody stepped up and kind of sacrificed themselves to thin out the Guardian pool, but then, everybody lost to Guardian because of it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how to word it more eloquently than that, but it's like a sticky situation.
Yeah, totally. And there's some definite psychological factors at work there too, that have to come in when you're competing at the highest level, maybe for your first time, you're like, ooh, this is a good Briar card. That feels comfortable. You just pick what feels comfortable maybe, or you're like, ooh, this looks open. Oh crap. It's not, or what, I don't know. There's just a lot that goes into that. And then it also depends on where you sit too, and what signals you get from the person passing to you or whatever. It can be challenging, especially when there's only 3 heroes. It doesn't matter, right? There will always be one hero more represented than the others. And right. I don't know if people have been thinking about that. You're trying to get in the seat where you're just one of 2, not right. 2, not one of 2 plus.
Right. I mean, in the perfect world, there would be 3 players for 2 different heroes and 2 for one of them.
Yeah. And those would be the 2 best. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So you're just trying not to be one of those, when you're at the top 8, which is a lot harder said than done to read those signals and stay open and stuff, So that's what we see. Guardian wins the whole thing. Control strategy. Handily. It was awesome. It was expert piloting.
And I mean, part of that, I think Briar has the best chance against that. But, with 5 Briars, all those decks were way too diluted to stand a chance. Their threat level was just too low. Can't go wide enough. Don't have enough arcane. So they could not deal with the 1-player Oldheim deck. Yeah, I think
Lexi can do it as well, because you just kind of have dominate on a stick, and but the tough thing is you just have to be cognizant of actual defense reactions from Arsenal, and it's just really tense. You run 30 cards, maybe they're on 35. You're going to see the cards you pitch before they do, but you're maybe lining up, I don't know. They're just pitching earth cards down there so they can keep recurring that earth card defense reaction. And if they've, been sitting on something in their arsenal for a while, then maybe you have to go back through your deck. I don't know. It just is it can be pretty tough for sure. That's your only advantage, is that you run a slimmer deck. It's not your only advantage. It's just one of them that you can play into. You run the slimmer deck, you get to that second cycle before they do. And you got to track kind of their pitch.
Totally. And buffs are just a little bit uncommon maybe in this set. So, right, if you just come in with an arrow for 5 dominate, they can block all of it with a card in the Oldheim reaction. Right, so you have to have a pumped arrow, hopefully double pumped or something. But then even if they don't have a defense reaction, then it's they block 5 of it. So you swing for 8, right? Get 3 through. Damage done, but it's just... It's tough.
Yeah, it's really, really tough. So then let's quickly go through this Cincinnati calling too.
Yeah.
Right. So we see the same thing that happens in Sealed day 1. Shit ton of Briar, etc. A bit of a change was they did another round of Swiss, and that anybody who was X and 2 made it to day 2. So there was more than 64 people, I guess, or whatever, which I think is just to make sure that you get as even numbers as possible for the drafting pods, right?
Oh, gotcha.
So then if people decide to go play the Pro Quest the next day, you still want to have like eight person pods, which is cool. I think that's a better strategy for sure. And it's cool that the OP team is improving upon the format and stuff to make it better for everybody and to make the event a lot better. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, just a couple notes about the Cincinnati calling itself. We kind of laid into or critique some of the announcing and the judging and just like things in general about Dallas. And I thought the card description, or like play mechanics from the announcers as well as the judging was quite a bit better in the Cincinnati calling.
Shout out to Rob. He really crushed it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I might have missed some things there. I didn't watch quite as much, but I watched almost all of day 2. And that just seemed to be, a little bit better production that way. I also like how they cut over to the Pro Quest to some degree. Especially once it got into the higher games for the Pro Quest. That was just pretty fun to see.
There was a Bravo mirror that was pretty fun to watch, for sure.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Aggro Bravo mirror.
Yeah, that was cool. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, and then we get to draft in day 2, and there's like some stories, but really it's all about the top 8, like what's going to happen in this next top 8. And so in the top 8 in Cincinnati, we see now this time 4 Briars instead of 5. So an improvement there. 2 Lexis again, but 2 Oldheims. So what do you think about that, Isaac?
I think so. Oldheim takes it out again, right? But less handily so.
Right.
Definitely like had a better finals game and could have lost maybe. The 4 Briars still diluted that Briar pool, which is who the Oldheim player played in the finals. Tarek. Shout out to Tarek. That guy is very new and very good.
Totally.
Just bold, mechanically or like play-wise.
Yeah, bold strategy. Not only does he, like a crazy person, have his deck at like 45 degrees, he also chose not to wear sleeves at all on day 2. You just letting them cannons out.
Totally.
But
it's
didn't want
intimidation factor.
Yeah.
You don't have to use them.
Yeah, he didn't use them. And he didn't want to be cold though, because he wore a beanie at the same time, right? Tactical beanie, I think. So
keep the organs cool.
Yeah,
the gun's hot.
Yeah. The gun that's not how beanies work.
Well, your brain's an organ.
Yeah, totally. It's keeping it warm.
Oh, sorry.
So it can work,
yeah.
right? And then the guns are out there glinting.
Gotcha.
To distract your opponent.
Fuck that up.
Yeah, totally. It's all right.
We didn't have a rehearsal.
As a person who doesn't have guns, you don't know what it's like.
Ooh, shots fired.
Dig, dag. So what I think is interesting is you get to watch Matt Rogers draft for the top 8, and he's sitting right next to Tarek, who's also on Briar, and I just don't understand how that happened. I don't get it.
Matt Rogers is a much better player than I am, but just why I kind of felt like he was a little bit all over the place and was not impressed with his first round of picks.
Yeah, totally. We're experts at this game also. Well, I've also won a road to nationals.
Well, in that situation, I would have, it's like tough, right? You're like in the spotlight. He has a freaking camera over his shoulder.
Totally. I mean, but he's like the most famous person in Flesh and Blood. He should be.
Totally.
It just is like weird. It just was interesting because it was like, oh, he's like obviously just starting to draft Briar, but then like get some really good Briar cards in some packs, like some Suede Hides and some other like powerful cards that come by, and he chooses something else to try to then remain open.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just like an interesting couple of picks. With then like, somebody passes you some pretty big signals, I thought. But maybe it was like,
I think Tarek's signals were a little bit hard to read too, because it did look like he had Briar and then dried up at one point. But just in the first, 10 picks from Matt, I feel like he's a little bit too all over the place there. Which again, it's a tough set, but I just, I think I would have probably stayed open and got, because he like dipped into Oldheim, dipped into Briar, then kind of pulled out of both a bunch. I think I tend to,
but then he wound up on Briar anyway.
Yeah. I think I tend to stay open and maybe like cherry pick a little bit of one class, and then I dive in or hard pivot. I don't like sprinkle for the first 10 cards, because then you get kind of in a little bit tough of a position. But again, my thoughts on this format always, grow and change because there's so much to learn.
Yeah, totally. It just is interesting to see those picks and those cards, and because I watched it live and I was like, whoa, I would have picked this other card. I wouldn't have made that pick. They just, did not seem very obvious. And then, he winds up being one of 4 Briars. Even the announcers, I think Rob is like, oh yeah, he's definitely going Briar. He's got to pick these things. And then he just like kind of didn't. Not that we're trying to harp on Matt Rogers. It's just our only data point that we have from the table.
Right. He was the only one filmed.
Yeah.
So I can't, critique anybody else.
Yeah, totally. Just pretty interesting. But then, Michael wins it with Oldheim. And in his interview afterwards, he just said, like, I just studied Nam's like drafts and gameplay from the week before and did my own testing on that and tried to see if I could like find something that beat that. And it was like pretty close, not like universally better. So I just told myself like, hey, if this is open, just draft it. And then that's what he did. And then he won,
Nice. And understood that strategy real well, trying to beat it,
Yeah, totally. I think Tarek did a really good job, like having gigantic turns. Like he understood what he kind of had to do against controlled Oldheim, like, kind of taking a bit of damage, but then having like an insane turn where he plays a non-attack action into an attack, and then another non-attack action into another attack into Rosetta, so that's like that time of like 3 wide, getting that embodiment of lightning token type of kind of large play was, I think, a good strategy for sure.
Yeah.
And
I think, I guess my closing thought here is I think that this is going to kind of even itself out once people kind of maybe respect more and prioritize Oldheim more, right? Because if like Oldheim is the one at the table who has 4 drafters every time, then the Oldheims are going to get weaker, right? And the ignored hero is going to be stronger.
Yeah.
So, there's also only 2 Lexis here, and I don't know what exactly those decks looked like. But, I don't think this deck is so overpowered in this format that it's like with 4 people drafting it. I would hope that, one of those would probably not win, because then you have a condensed other hero with the tools to, beat one of 4 Oldheims. So we'll see what, how it goes in the future.
Yeah. So with this information now for the limited parts of Nationals, what do? You play your first 3 rounds of Classic Constructed, and then you get to your draft. What are you doing? I'm asking you.
Boy, that's a really big question.
Yeah, let's say, you go 2-1,
Right.
and then you're into the draft. It now hinges on, your draft.
I mean, that's a pretty tough question. I guess what I first look for, the way I see it, you probably have like 3 whiffs or something, right? So if like, a broken, like say Pulse of Volthaven comes around, you can pick that and then not use it, but you don't have that many of those. In general, what I kind of try to look out for is like very powerful element cards, which I try not to branch out into all 3 too much. You can usually see the signs, right? Like if red Autumn's Touch gets passed to you, I mean, odds are the player right next to you is not picking Earth. And
But what if there was a red Earthlore Surge?
Yeah, totally. But you don't. Again, you're not married to that.
Yeah.
But you are pretty quickly.
I just mean like that could be what they picked in the pack.
No, I know.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I mean. So then you pick red Autumn's Touch, but then if Earth keeps coming, you can keep into it. And then I guess just knowing the quality, right? Like red Earthlore Surge is very good, but there's other cards that are like a little bit more niche. Like red Lightning Surge is excellent in Briar. Pretty good in Lexi, but it kind of redundants itself.
Right.
Unless you have another non-arrow attack by chance. But in general, gets to Briar's weapon. Excellent in Briar, less good in Lexi. Red Heaven's Claw, excellent in Lexi, underwhelming in Briar, because you're probably swinging that instead of your weapon maybe, or something. So there's like... And all of these cards I just listed are like power cards, but have kind of different roles and different amounts of openness, if that makes sense. So I guess my general plan is kind of hard to just describe in one sentence, but I guess that's what it is, right? Is like some of these power cards are like first picks, some are like more niche, and you got to like read and choose what you're doing. Maybe in the first 4 or 5 cards, maybe you don't have what you're doing yet, but you kind of got to read it and know.
Yeah. I think to help summarize your point is like not every essence card pick is actually leaving you open, right?
Right.
So like if I pick Red Heaven's Claw, then that, although allows me to play Lexi and Briar, it's much more of a Lexi pick than it is a Briar pick.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah. So do you want to like riff off that or go like if you sit down, what are you looking at?
That's I think what you would have to do leading up to nationals is identify what cards period leave you the most open early to pick so that you can read signals, right? Rather than like, I think some theory might be just pick the best card in the first couple of packs and read the signals that way, right? Because you do have some picks you can throw away. But I think you have to remember that like, if you aren't going to play your first 4 cards you pick in pack 1, right? Then you still have 3 cards coming at the end of pack 1 at the end of pack 1, 1 at the end of pack 2, and 1 at the end of pack 3 that you might not play also. So that would be 8 total cards, which I think you wind up with like 15 cards you could not play, right? I think it's how the math works.
Yeah, this is a good discussion.
Yeah.
On drafts, like, and that kind of goes back to Matt Rogers' picks, right? Like I was surprised he picked so many like into both Briar and Oldheim because of that. Like at the end, you're going to get past like Blue Dazzling Crescendo also, which like adds to your count there.
Yeah,
which,
of
is
cards
a really
you
good point.
cannot play.
Yeah. So those, if you pick 6 cards that are class specific early, 3 of those you can't play, and then all the garbage you get past you can't play, or some of, or whatever.
Yeah. And there's a bit of like, I think nerves you get when you're like ooh, here's a like red Entwine Lightning or a red Entwine Earth. Like that leaves me the most open, kind of. Like Entwine Lightning, I think much more so because it's a 0 for 4, right? But Entwine Earth is 2 for 6, but you really want it to be that 2 for 8, which is friggin' dope. That's like my favorite card that I was not very... That's the card I think I flipped back on the most in the set, having played a lot more.
Yeah, it's really good because it's one of those cards that fuses and then you want to put in your arsenal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or, like fuses Bramble Spark itself and then plays off
Twine
of
Earth
it.
doesn't...
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was thinking of Burgeoning.
Yeah.
But
Burgeoning is also great.
Yeah.
So,
it's just 2 for 8 is like excellent value.
Yeah. But so then like you pick Entwine Earth and you're like, cool, now to get this to work, Earth needs to be open,
Right.
And I haven't furthered any other game plan except for that now I need Earth to make this really good card work. Which, saying it now, you're like, dude, just pick whatever the next card is, you'll be fine. That's like one card you don't have to pick. But it kind of makes you nervous to make that pick because it's so powerful, right? You're like, I really want to be able to play this in my deck because 2 for 8 is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Or
like in Twine Lightning, if you're running it's like an attack with Go Again in Briar is excellent.
Yeah.
Those are like top priority.
Yeah.
Somehow you're going to make embodiment of lightning tokens or your attack has Go or whatever.
Yeah.
But so that's...
I think it's even good in Lexi too because you can arsenal that and fuse it from hand. Still play an arrow, fuse that, and then arsenal your electrify. That's still like a pretty good turn.
For sure.
But getting the Entwine cards don't further, they aid in helping you, but they don't like make your deck, so to speak. Right?
Yeah, like that Entwine Earth is excellent, but doesn't up your Earth count yet.
Yeah.
So
totally.
It's one of the...
It blocks for 2.
Yeah, it's like one of your class cards.
Yeah.
So now you still need X amount of Earth.
But it's like worse because it doesn't block very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So my recommendation would be that how I would play it out is I would identify what cards are the most open cards to pick, pack one, pick one.
Yeah.
And then go from there, right? I would have done that homework, gone into that draft and felt solid about how to get some momentum going in those packs. Because I've definitely drafted and felt floundered in my first couple of picks, like, kind of scatterbrained all over the place. And I would really like to be a little bit more calm in those first couple of picks, even though they're maybe not the most crucial, but to just get the momentum, right?
Yeah. So I guess the bullet point there is knowing which cards are powerful and open, whereas which cards are more, because like Weave Lightning is really good in Lightning Briar, right? Because it gives the attack Go Again into Rosetta, but it's also a free pump for Lexi, which you have Dominate on demand, right?
Yeah.
So Weave Lightning is just a great card
in
that respects. So I guess that would lead into just like the other thing I would say is, know your archetypes, right? Mm-hmm. Because if I get 2 red Vela Flashes, but then I'm running Earth and Bramble Sparks, that's like 2 different strategies. Both are, I love Vela Flash. I think that card is really good. Mm-hmm. But, then you can kind of have, and I've done this before, you can kind of have this deck where you're just drawing your Earth Fuse cards with your Lightning cards and vice versa. And that'll probably happen to some degree because you can't draft a perfect deck, but know what you're going for, right? So after I choose those 2 red Vela Flashes, right, I need to have my lightning count in mind.
Yeah, totally.
Or, just keep in mind that I'm going for lightning Briar if it continually presents itself. But if like Earth is hard pushed at me, right, then I'm, that's okay. Vela Flashes blocks for 3, 1 for 5, still great. But now I'm off that. I don't need lightnings.
Yeah.
Same with, if I'm going for a control Oldheim, right, then my priority is, I still need big red attacks to swing back when I get a little breathing room, but then maybe I prioritize, some earth blues or some defense reactions over, maybe a yellow snow under or whatever. So just knowing the priorities for the archetype that presents itself and that you commit to.
Yeah, draft decks, not cards. Right? Which is something we talked about in the reaction step, is that, cool lightning's open, but you're on Lexi, but you're just getting go again lightning attacks, like much harder to sequence your hands that way and arsenal those lightning cards and that sort of thing. So that's the big takeaway there. I'm very excited to watch the Nationals coverage. We have set up a little event at Oasis card shop in McKinleyville, where on Sunday we're going to watch the
watch party.
Yeah, we're going to have a watch party and play some games and just like freaking hang out and just celebrate the culmination of the real first like U.S. competitive season, So it's really, really exciting. Great job. I feel like, man, we sound like geniuses.
It's exciting.
Yeah. When you like are just like, yeah, I figured it all out. I haven't played in any limited callings yet, but solved it. No problem. Just listen to our podcast. Anyway, donate to our Patreon. Geniuses. Thank you. Let's talk about the ProQuest.
Okay.
There's Dallas and Cincinnati. Lump them together if you want.
Sure. Yeah, I don't have numbers for Dallas, but Prism wins Dallas, Bravo wins Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
No big upsets or surprises there.
I can look up really quick. I have the top 8 here for
Gotcha. Dallas.
for Dallas. Yeah. Right. Just give me 1 second.
Well, here I'll rattle off. So for Cincinnati,
yeah,
we have 2 Briars, 1 Bravo, 1 Chain, 2 Prisms, 1 Lexi, and 1 Katsu. And then in the whole event, which was actually fairly small, there's like 150, 100 something players. There were 14 Lexis and 12 Briars, which is pretty exciting. Mm-hmm. So there's like a few things about that, right? Like both Briar and Lexi top 8'd. Chain top 8'd also after the Seeds ban. And then the Bravo, Prisms, and Katsus are not surprising. But it's nice to see a couple new heroes represented, but not dominating, right? I think what helps is because I've been trying to build Lexi lately, the complexity of deck building that character, it may take a while to see one mode or one archetype dominant. In Dallas, we also saw a Lexi top 8, and it was a very different deck than the Cincinnati deck, which I think is like really great, right? Like one was a snapshot Death Dealer deck, and one was a like mostly Lightning Lexi
Voltaire.
Yeah. Deck. So that's pretty cool. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think the top 8 in Dallas is 2 Dash, 2 Bravo, Lightning Lexi, Katsu, Prism, and Sabers Bolton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We did have 5 Boltons in this ProQuest, but none of them made top 8 also.
Yeah, totally. It seems like, so in both top 8s, we get kind of like a high variance type deck, right? Like when you look at that Chain top 8 deck list, it's the like Flock, Trimmer, High Roll deck, right? And just runs hot and gets into the top 8.
With like Sting of Sorcery and stuff now instead of Seeds.
I don't know. I'd have to look at the deck specifically.
Gotcha.
But it's just more of like leaning into the high variance.
Yeah.
Right? I think they get second, right? They go against Bravo in the finals. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because Chain beat Briar, which what Brendan was on. Briar and that Chain winds up winning. But then we also see like Sabers Bolton, right, is also like a high variance deck that gets you all the way to the top 8. So sometimes you just like,
but then did not in Cincinnati.
yeah, just like you get a hot deck for the day,
which is normal though, right? Like those decks have really huge ceilings, so with enough of them represented at enough events, it's like some of them will win or do well, or,
And as we know, in like bigger Swiss events, there's different pathways to get to that top 8.
Right. But just out of 5 chains, right? Like one is probably going to like hit pretty bad and one's probably going to hit pretty good.
Yeah.
And then the other's somewhere in between those or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe you don't run into control really, or,
right.
Et cetera. So,
well, which is interesting because it's, at least what I thought is it used to be, I would prefer to aggro against chain, but now with seeds gone, I think that if you could pivot, if your deck has the ability to pivot to hard control, you would probably have a better shot now.
Yeah, and I think that's what the post-game interview, the gentleman that won with Bravo said he did. He just sat across from Chain and was like, cool, there's no more seeds, so I guess I'll just go into a deep control strategy, which for sure works. Which is funny because it's like that's like what they wanted to stop from happening, right? Was like boring gameplay where one player just blocks and another player just attacks. But it's like now that's just the surefire way to win, potentially.
You mean by banning seeds?
Yeah.
That's what they wanted.
Yeah, totally. But I guess that's like an unwinnable board state. Is that what you're getting into with Chain? Like you can't, if it goes that late, you get Ursa, you get all these seeds, you get Rift Bind comes in for 15 and then 8 and then Ursa, so that's like not a game plan now, but it's still like on the opponent's end, it's the same, just extremely more effective.
Yeah, that is too. But I think the other thing they were going for is to like make the game varied again, right? It's not extreme aggro in 4 turns or extreme control, right? There needs to be room for a type of mid-range deck to play, which seems to have worked, right? Now we see all kinds of different archetypes.
Yeah, and it also looks like from the numbers, I hope these are also correct, because it just seems like such a low amount of people, right, playing in the ProQuest. Like if there's 500 people in, but these are the numbers we have. So if there's 500 people playing in Cincinnati and only like 100 plus wind up in the ProQuest, there's like 200 or 300 people unaccounted for just playing side events, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I pulled these numbers off the Fab TCG website, but anyway.
in their recap of the then that's correct.
So, but yeah, where did those other 300 players go?
Yeah, did they? I guess they're just jamming side events or something, or went home.
Yeah,
I don't know. It seemed like the ProQuest at Vegas was freaking massive.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
All right. Well, so talk to me about these Briar decks.
Oh,
what do you see in Briar?
I'm not sure. We only see the 2 lists in top 8, and we just see like a double highly aggressive strategy from both decks, right? Like Brendan's deck is chocked full of generics, but the whole idea is to just go wide, get to the sword, keep Channel Mount Heroic out for as long as possible, and come in with friggin' Command and Conquer for 9, at the, play Bramble Spark, fuse it with a blue Earth card, pitch the blue Earth card. You got Mount Heroic out, come in with whatever it's called that gives you go again. What was your suggestion?
Oh, Vigor Rush?
Yeah, Vigor Rush comes in for 7 plus the Bramble Spark, so it's for 10 and an Arcane, and then you come in with Command and Conquer for 9, deal with that, everybody. Right?
Yeah, I think the takeaway there, right, is that Channel Mount Heroic, as well as Bramble Spark, buff everything.
Yeah.
Not just elemental cards.
Yeah.
Right. So
attack actions.
Whatever your, scars or snatches or commanding, like anything gets pumped by it.
Yeah.
So just really leaning into that high damage output.
Yeah.
Of course, Rosetta is also very good, but
Yeah. And then in the other Briar in the top 8 is like the most red line, low to the ground cost curve deck I've ever seen. There's like 6 or 8 blues only, and the only card that costs anything is like Command and Conquer. Everything else costs 0, and it's like a pure lightning deck basically, which is just nuts. So it's tons of mixed damage, tons of attacks, nothing costs anything.
You mean like nimblism into Scar, and then
No, it's like
or nimblism
nimblism.
Scar Rosetta or something.
It's like a little bit different than that. It's like actually like into Arcanic Shockwave, like play 2 nimblisms into that.
Gotcha.
Or something.
But then into Rosetta if you make a lightning.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. And, that costs you 1 resource for the sword.
Right.
Right. So, I can pull it up right here. Yeah. So it's just like, Entwined Lightning. We got Lightning Presses, Nimblisms, Blunder Runs, Ravenous Rabble, Ball Lightnings of all variety. Not the blues, but reds and yellows. Yeah. So like nothing costs anything in the deck.
Right.
Which is pretty nuts.
And what I found, because I played against that deck the other day, and what I found is that, so I mean, it's like they're really aggressive, and you're like, some of your cards don't block very well, but then with your embodiment tokens, it's like, if I choose to like, you have 10 armor points and embodiment tokens anytime I choose not to just block out. So then pivoting is really tough, because you can be like, oh, okay, well, I'll block for 5 with 1 card and then continue the pressure.
Yeah.
So trying to, once you add that value in there, it's a good deck.
Totally. Praise upon anybody who's also trying to out aggro you. It's like,
Right.
Well, you can't, because I'm just going to win the exchange.
Yeah.
Unless you draw the 4 attack hand, then that kind of like, there's still that level of variance in there. It's like, cool, I have only non-attacks, or I only have attacks, can still happen. But hopefully you've dealt enough damage that you just block it out and kind of restart the cycle. So, they still feel like, not to take anything away from anybody, but just like not super refined yet, right? Which makes sense because it's really, really early in the meta. But it's just interesting that there was so much aggro at Cincinnati. All 3 of the Rune Blades, in the Lexi, right? Like,
Yeah.
which is just a pretty cool proactive strategy, which just probably punishes early opponents who are unsure of how to play against those heroes,
Yeah, definitely.
You're like, well, I know my combo is good. I don't know what you're going to do. So no blocks,
Right.
Well,
yeah, and it just like having a full aggro strategy or full control or, whatever, just really, your game plan is more one-dimensional, and you have to make less calculations, right, throughout the game. So throughout an entire day of playing this, you have less decision points that you can make a mistake on, right? So if you're playing full aggro or full control, and I'm playing a techie mid-range or combo deck, I just have more decision points in my day and more chances to make mistakes. And, therefore, it's like inevitable I will make more mistakes.
Yeah.
Not to say that your deck autopilots itself or it's perfect or, whatever, but it's like the more complex or combo based or whatever your deck gets, the more difficult it is. And it just shows at the end of a long day of playing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of segues into like looking at this field. It makes me really want to play Leviah or Rhinar, right?
Right.
Like I feel like both those heroes play really well into that top 8. I could be kind of wrong, The explosiveness in Mr. Patrick's Briar deck is pretty insane. But it's also like very specific in that, like, if you have to block with your non-attack action and you have Vigor Rush, all of a sudden Vigor Rush is just a 1-for-4, which blows, you know?
Yeah.
So then you either like take all of that Rhinar damage or whatever.
Which we see 6 Levias and 7 Rhinars in this Pro Quest, none of whom made top 8.
Yeah. We don't know how like well they did. Like maybe they bubbled out at 9th or 10th or something, you know? But I mean, we were talking before the podcast and kind of theorizing on how to attack. Like if this is what the meta is going to look like, how do we attack that more? And I think we still like our chances with Levia and Rhinar, particularly Levia.
Yeah, I have a little bit of pushback maybe against Rhinar, or not, but it just struggles against aggro. Mm-hmm. So if you come in with a very mid-rangey or defensive Rhinar build, I think it could have a decent time, right? Because you can just block, play defense react from Arsenal, and then, you know, play like red barraging into your club. And then, like, you know, you get intimidated, you have to block with 2 cards or take 8, right? So I think that type of Rhinar is like fairly strong into aggro, but then you have to kind of have your combo Rhinar if you come up against, you know, some sort of control or like dash or defensive guardian, you know. So, you know, I think it could be done. It's like a little bit tough maybe with your sideboard. You just have to like pivot to because you know, like Bravo is very prevalent, right? And then these like really red line, you know, like Briar decks or whatever are very prevalent and very different. So you just have to execute your strategy against each one very definitively, which can be done. It's just well, it's always easier said than done. But, you know, I do think Rhinar could have a good place in this meta. It's also an issue of, like I said, there's, you know, in this game, I think overall we've seen kind of these, I don't know how to put this, like very consistent, very methodical decks, right? Like Control Ninja, Pistols Dash is very much a control.
Like linear.
Can pivot, yeah.
Yeah, linear game strategy.
Chain is like high variance, but you're, but you're like power and large hand size kind of make up for that. So anyway, just having this that's a good way to put it, linear game plan, so far has been dominant and rewarded in this game. So if you're playing, you know, like say you're playing a Claws combo deck into Pistols Dash, it's on you to execute your game plan and not make too many mistakes, kind of, which can definitely give you the more powerful deck, but it's like definitely on you to play excellently to get there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Because it then relies on your skill, you know, versus the machine, rather than like getting the advantage in like, well, card for card, this is just a better matchup for me. So a bit of the pressure is off, right? Yeah. I totally agree with you in that respect, for sure. You know, and like something like Levia takes quite a lot of testing and discipline, you know, and when you play over like a long tournament, it can be extremely hard. And like, plus the deck is like extremely punishing for when you like pick the wrong line, you know?
Yeah.
You just like, shit, I've now lost.
Yeah, you die.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, Levia's in the same department, right? Like, I like Levia a little bit better in this department because against aggro decks like Katsu, I've yet to play against this Briar deck, but you can have this aggro game plan You have quite a lot of armor. Your deck pumps out more damage than Rhinar. It's tough, but this aggro game plan definitely works against aggro decks. And then you have to like pivot really hard, but it doesn't really take that much sideboarding. It's just a hard pivot in strategy to go up. Like, say you go up against Bravo playing control. You just like hard pivot into, your recursion and your combo abilities. And, that's very winnable too. Against Dash, you're playing a little bit more aggressively, but you still have to go over the top of their defense reactions and all of that. So, yeah, I really we were talking about, right, like, what beats Bravo? Bravo beats everything, but then Prism beats Bravo, or can. Dash beats Bravo, right? So then what beats Prism and Dash? Rhinar and Levia. How do they perform into Bravo, right?
Right.
Maybe not great, but if you can get to a place where that's a winnable matchup, you're sitting in a really good spot, right? You beat Prism and Dash, can beat Bravo, and then you have these aggro decks to deal with. Have to have a game plan there. But again, it's high. Just there's a lot of mechanics at work and a lot of decision points, and I think that just gives playing as Dash or Bravo, or Prism has a lot of decision points too, but that kind of gives those decks a leg up a little bit.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the current meta situation we're sitting in?
Well, you have to be comfortable into playing against like Briar and Lexi. It looks like those are the two popular ones, and it seems like Lexi has 2 top 8s now. And that is maybe kind of the front runner out of the Tails decks.
Well, Briar has 2 top 8s now as well.
No, it's two Bravos in the one before, right?
Right, but there's 2 Briars in this second.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
2 separate top 8s.
2 separate top
Gotcha.
8s. You got to, whatever you pick has to play well into Bravo, Dash, Prism, and Lexi and Briar, right? You have to like have some sort of game plan against those decks, and I don't know anything else. So
I mean, Katsu's always there, but that kind of falls in the same.
Like, you could just go down that rabbit hole, but to just focus your testing,
right?
Those are the kind of things you probably want to be most focused on, I think. And, I don't know what I would take, having not been really preparing for nationals, because we're not like really going. We're just like kind of deck building and trying out new heroes and stuff. And I just keep flipping back and forth between different rune blades all the time and stuff, so.
Just living the dream.
Yeah, just building every rune blade archetype with every hero I can, which is pretty fun. But I mean, I am sorely missing for sure the like structured weekly play for something meaningful that we had in Road to Nats season. But I think a well piloted one of the brute decks could take you pretty far is kind of what it feels like a little bit. So yeah, we'll see if there's a jump in the meta for nationals or not. Like how many people have a secret deck that they've been working on.
That's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
Is seeing like what these top players bring out, because this is it, right? This is what you tested and saved for.
Yeah,
and did not reveal for.
If you got anything freaking secret, this is the time. My guess is very little secret decks. I mean, if we were going to do that, we would have done it at like Calling Vegas, right? But people just played whatever the hell they wanted to, right? People just went like, Dash is pretty good. I like that deck. I'll play that.
True, but Chain has been nerfed now.
Yeah.
So there's room for other
Yeah,
archetypes.
so now you really can go like, oh yeah, Azalea's the best. I love Azalea. I'm just going to play Azalea, you know? Or like, I'm still going to play Sabres Bolton or whatever, you know?
Right.
Like that, you know, we'll see. It's a professional level event. But I don't know out of how many of those players are like, I'm going to win nationals. Right?
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? So we shall see.
It is pretty wide open though, which makes it fun.
Yeah, it is really fun.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to see like a rogue deck rise from the, I don't know.
Do you have a pick?
Oh, who's going to win?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was trying to think of a metaphor, a spicy one, but just like meh, meh, blah. Do I have a pick? I would just like it to be a rune blade. I don't care which one.
Nice.
Just a rune blade to win. That's it.
Cool.
That's my pick. What about you? What's your pick?
This is just not very exciting, but I'm gonna pick Prism to win. Just that deck is very, very good, except it against its Achilles heels, Leviah and Rhinar. And if somebody can get there with a Brute over this whole meta picture and take advantage of those prisms, awesome. Good for you. That's the deck that should win, right? Like Leviah should win, I think. But it's really about getting there, and it's harder when you're doing it. So, you know, I again, like, minus a standout Leviah or maybe Rhinar, I think Prism, I think Prism will do it. It's a toolbox deck, and it's got a lot of great tools.
Totally. Well, that's it for the main topic. I think me and you have not been corresponding a ton about the game and stuff. Because I'm busy with work and whatever. So we had a lot to say today on the pod.
We did.
Which has been pretty fun. It's been nice visiting with you. And talking about Flesh and Blood.
You too. It's good to see you.
Yeah, totally. That's why we started this podcast. But before we end our podcast, we have our signature segments. So we're going to start off here with Pick, Pass, Pray. It's a draft scenario. I'm going to give you 3 cards, Isaac, and you're going to pick one, pass one, and pray one comes back around. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. First card up. Autumn's Touch Red. Pitches for 1, costs 3, attacks for 7, defends for 3, and is a Earth action attack. The hand of autumn sweeps the land, guiding life towards rebirth. Okay, that's your first card.
Beautiful.
Second card, Oakenold. It's a red, so it pitches for 1, costs 3, attacks for 7 also, defends for 3, is an elemental guardian attack action. It has earth and ice fusion, and if Oakenold was fused, it gains +2, dominate, and if this hits a hero, they put 2 random cards from their hand on the bottom of their deck in any order. Okay? Third card, Red Heaven's Claw. Pitches for 1, costs 1, is foil. Attacks for 5, defends for 3, and is a lightning attack action. The hand of lightning strikes the land, jolting life from its slumber.
All right.
So which one are you going to pick, which one are you going to pass, and which one are you going to pray comes back around?
So I'm picking Oakenold. Right. I want to play it.
Slamming it.
Don't want to see it played against me. It is Guardian, but it's worth one of your slots here. And this is a card that can kind of define your deck, right? Because you could defend or have good exchanges, keep your life up, and then you could see this card and you could arsenal it, then you could do the same thing some more until you have a window to play and fuse it. And it's the kind of, pivot turn that, could like win you the game later on, but win you the game with that pivot turn. It's just such a good card. It also, the double fuse maybe is kind of tough, but it just like blocks for 3. It costs 3 to swing for 7 anyway, even if you don't fuse. It's just money. This card is only money.
It's a house.
So, yeah, I'm gonna grab that. That's one of the Majestics in this set that is like one of the powerhouses.
Yeah.
I'm going to pray Autumn's Touch comes back around, because that's very, very powerful in both Briar or Guardian. Blocks for 3, swings for 7. Just great tempo card. It fuses. It's a card you want to put in your arsenal after fusing. It swings alone. It works off a Bramble Spark. It just does it all. I'm also a pretty big fan of Heaven's Claw, but as we talked about earlier a little bit, it's like much better in Lexi. So is kind of almost, it fills one of your lightning slots in that mechanical way, but arsenaling it in Briar is not, unless you're making embodiment tokens left and right or whatever. It's just, a little less good. Also, one of my least favorite foil is too much foil. They spilled the foil
No such
while they
thing.
were foiling it.
No such thing. More foil.
All right. What do you got?
I'm going to do the exact same thing as you. Again, second week in a row.
We've been practicing limited.
Well, it's just this set is a lot different than the other ones were, to where you could stay open in different ways or whatever. If there wasn't, also this whole pack was just insane.
Yeah, there were 5 runner-ups.
Yeah, totally.
This pack had a lot of good cards.
Yeah, but just Oakenold is just too good, right? And then Autumn's Touch, just because of the fact I've picked Oakenold and could pivot to Briar, means I'm like right where I want to be, as the card I'm praying comes back around. And you don't lose anything by picking Oakenold first, because if you wind up in Guardian, great. Like you said, if you don't wind up in Guardian, you don't have to get Oakenolded,
Right.
Yeah. And, which is cool that we agree on these cards. Interesting that it hasn't been like that until now.
Yeah, with this set.
Yeah.
Yeah, and almost any pack, Autumn's Touch would be my first pick.
Yeah,
but
red, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
in the red yeah,
one.
for sure.
Yeah.
Even Heaven's Claw in some packs I would pick also, But just the fact that Oakenold is here is just pretty spicy.
Yeah.
It's really good. I'm just staring at it. So great. Okay, that's been Pick, Pass, Pray. No Riddle Me This week, but it is Isaac's turn for Game from the Closet. What do you got, Isaac?
It is. And this segment I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm just going to tell you about my personal favorite TCG was Legend of the Five Rings.
That is a LCG.
Oh, sorry.
People
LCG.
will tweet at you corrections. You're on Twitter now. You got to be on point.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
But so this game got canceled, unfortunately. But I just, so I don't know. This isn't really a sales pitch, but there's just a few things I really love about this game and why I think it is really, really great. So in this game, it's set in Japan. You have 2 decks.
Fantasy Japan.
Yeah, 2 decks. One deck fuels your hand of cards and is kind of your actions. And the other deck puts a card face up in each of your 4, or face down or up in each of your 4 provinces. So you have 4 provinces and a stronghold, and you are trying to attack and destroy your opponent's strongholds or provinces and then their stronghold. And those cards that are in your strongholds become your, soldiers, etc., out on the battlefield. And this game just made for a very complex kind of battle state. There's a very interesting poker match that goes on between you and your opponent, as far as I'm committing troops to this battle at this province now, but what do you need to save for when I attack the other province, and what do I have, etc. Which I found like really, really interesting and fun to play. It also has a splash mechanic, which with the talents I was happy to see in Flesh and Blood come up, but it's been like very rigid so far. But I'm a huge fan of the splash mechanic in games, especially in L5R, in that you could splash, I think, 10 of any other class cards into your... So if I'm playing Scorpion Clan, I can splash in 10 crab cards into my deck, or 10 of any set. But not all the cards from each other clan, work in your deck, but it just makes for very open-ended and interesting deck building, and is kind of limited in the fact that not all of the mechanics sync together. So anyway, I hope to see some more and maybe more varied splash mechanics in Flesh and Blood, but just very much enjoy that in games. So anyway, that's my little pitch about what I like about L5R. I hope it comes back someday. I thought it was very enjoyable, but it was to me, it was a very mechanically sound, creation and card game. So thanks for making it, whoever made it.
Yeah, and this is where we would disagree, is that I also enjoyed that game, but found it overly complex, and that detracted away from like the other parts of the game that I thought were more fun, like the artwork's really great and the theme is really great. But I just found it just a little too complex and too long.
Totally. A little longer and more plotting than, Flesh and Blood, for example. Like if you like Blitz and Flesh and Blood, this is not the game for you.
Yeah, totally. If you want to sit down and play a 2-hour match of a card game that you maybe will never be able to figure out where you made the wrong decision and lost the game.
Totally, it's my jam.
Then this is the game for you. But if, anyway, cool. Well, that's our show.
But specifically I really like splash in games. So
nice.
While keeping it from breaking the game, I would like to see more of that type of thing.
Well, you can splash in your Ranger cards in your Lexi deck.
I can.
Or, yeah.
Totally.
Anyway. Thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate you all. Check out our socials. It's all in the description of the show. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. The YouTube page is popping off right now. We got gameplay videos. We got deck building, sealed videos. We got a YouTube exclusive sister pod. It's all there.
More to come.
More to come for sure.
Also use our affiliate link for Fab Foundry, please. And go support our Patreon. Got lots of fun bonuses.
Yep, exactly. The Patreon is really great. It gets you access to our Discord, which you're like, well, I'm already in like 12 other Discords. Yeah, but
it's better than those ones.
You're not in this one. I'm telling you, it's extremely fun to hang out with all of these folks and get to like filter the resources and stuff, because we have so many people looking at different social media platforms that we get plenty of stuff posted to the Discord in a much more like easier to digest newsreel of Flesh and Blood stuff and happenings and whatnot. So yeah, and just $4 a month gets you that and gets you into our bi-monthly, every other month webcam tournament where we play for the Chalice of Champions, a real chalice that you get mailed to your house and you get a drink from its tasty goblet any day of the week if you win. So we got that going on. Higher tiers get you cool swag like stickers, playmats, etc. Yep. Totally. That's it.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Thank you. And we will see you right now. The next pod is scheduled for after Nationals. Hopefully we will have national champion Brendan Patrick on the pod. He's agreed to come on and guest star on the podcast. So that's the next one you can look forward to.
Also a reaction step coming up next month.
Yep. And then we'll have a reaction step. And then we don't have anything planned after that. So if you have any ideas for the end of November, let us know.
Oh, yeah. Please reach out. Like any questions you have for us, anything you'd like us to discuss on the podcast, whatever.
Yep. Words of encouragement, your grandmother's apple pie recipe, whatever. We'll take it.
credit card numbers.
Nice. All right. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.